Not sure if I'm live yet. There it goes. All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Julie. I am the owner and founder of Lady Faltai's Light Healing. You're either watching this on my Facebook page or my YouTube group. So welcome. I just got some sage leaves here I found on my workspace, so I'm putting them in my little jar so they don't get wasted here. All right, so this morning we're going to be talking about the fundamentals of throat chakra. And before we get started, we're going to just do a little quick smudge. Maybe. My lighter is not working well, and my sage bundle is almost completely shot. So, alright, so I guess maybe we won't do that. Thought I had some matches around here somewhere, just for this purpose, but I don't see them at the moment. Alright, well, note to self, buy a new lighter. Let's see if we can get. So anyway, we're going to talk today about throat chakra. There we go. Technical difficulties. I should have got a new one last night, because when I lit some incense last night, it didn't want to go very good. So I should have known. Alright, well, I guess that's not going to happen this morning. And you see, it's just, oh, maybe I just needed to show you guys. Maybe we'll get at least a little Palo Santos. Right. So there, we'll get at least a little bit of Palo Santos going in there. And I will have to, I really like this lighter. I can't find another one like it. Probably get something on Amazon close to it. Anywho, this morning we are talking about the throat chakra. First of all, where is it located? If you go and you feel on your neck, feel for your Adam's apple, that's where your throat chakra is. So mine is right here. That kind of, that bump, it sticks out quite a bit more on men, the Adam's apple, than it does on the women. So us women have to kind of poke around, but you can definitely feel it once you hit it. So mine is right here. Okay. It's important to know where they are, because sometimes people will, when they're meditating or journeying, they may lay down and put stones on their chakras. So I was just trying to find something here real quick. Actually, I have a piece of right here. So I could, if I was laying down and doing a meditation and working on my throat chakra, I may want to lay down with that right on the chakra. So that's one good reason to know where they are. The other reason it's a good idea to know where your chakras are is because when you are experiencing pain in your body, it is often lined up with, it is lined up with one of the chakras. So by sometimes knowing where the chakra is and knowing where your pain is in your body can kind of help you take a step forward in figuring out maybe what's going on. A lot of time it is stored trauma, which I'm not going to get into all of that today, but I have had neck surgery several times, and I have 2 lumps, cancerous. They're very, very small right now, so they're not doing anything about them, on my thyroid. So obviously I got some throat chakra things going on there. So those are things for me to work on. But mosquito, I am not surprised. I have known for a while that I have got some throat chakra stuff going on. I've also got some other chakra stuff going on too, but throat chakra is a big one for me. And so we'll talk about a little bit about what the throat chakra is for, because that's why we do the fundamentals. Talk about where it is, what it's for, if it's balanced, unbalanced, things like that. And then not next week, because next week we're going to do some sort of craft for Litha, but the week after that we'll talk about the tools for the throat chakra. And the color is blue. And if you came to my house and looked at my crystal set, you would kind of know that I had a throat chakra issue, because I have many, many, many blue stones in my house. So I think we're drawn to what we need. So anyhow, for your throat chakra, a lot of people, where do I want to go here? A lot of people focus on, when you say throat chakra, people think of somebody who is somebody who may be quiet, and they're like, oh, their throat chakra is blocked. And, so like a shy person or something, somebody might say, oh, their throat chakra is blocked. But really, not saying a lot or not speaking a lot doesn't mean that you have a throat chakra blockage. It can mean that, but that's not necessarily what it means. I mean, somebody can just be shy and not have a blocked throat chakra. Or somebody could have an overactive throat chakra as well. So that's the other side. All right. So your throat chakra is obviously your voice. It's how you communicate. It's your speech. But that doesn't, like I said, being quiet doesn't necessarily mean that you have a throat chakra blockage. It's not so much of how much, it's the quality. So it's not quantity, it's quality, is more what we're looking at here for trying to determine if you need to work on your throat chakra or not. My throat chakra is related to my sacral chakra. So I'll explain that a little bit. So your throat chakra is how you communicate. It's the what of your communication. So like I said, it's not quantity. I mean, you can have people out there that talk. That doesn't necessarily mean they have an open throat chakra or even an overactive throat chakra, because it's not, again, it's not the quantity of how much you talk. It's what you're actually communicating to others. So are you communicating truthfully? We all know those people who talk and talk and talk, and we know everything that's coming out of their mouth is pretty much horse shit. Apparently I can't pronounce words this morning. And again, that doesn't necessarily go back to necessarily just a throat chakra issue. That can go into other things as well. The feeling of could have something to do with their heart chakra, could have something to do with their root chakras, not feeling wanted, not feeling, could go to the heart chakra, not feeling loved. There could be a whole bunch of stuff as to why people communicate what they communicate. But to have a nice balanced throat chakra, you're going to be speaking the truth. You're going to be, and that's tricky too, but let me come back to that too. speaking the truth, speaking your wisdom, and speaking for the highest good. So that's like not talking a bunch of trash about people, not complaining. But again, all of those things are not really like when I get angry, that is not my throat chakra. When I start spewing out stuff, that is not my throat chakra. That is coming from my sacral. So that is my not feeling good enough and not feeling wanted. And so that's where all that comes from. So that's, even though I'm communicating it through my mouth and, throat chakra, it's not where that emotion is coming from. But the throat chakra itself is, speaking your truth and speaking wisdom and speaking for the higher good is kind of where all that lies. So it gets a little complicated and a little tricky when it comes to the throat chakra, because the way we communicate goes to it. It's not just the throat chakra. It can coincide with other chakras as well. Because it's our way of communicating. So it can be communicating from, your heart, which may be, if you have a broken heart, your communication is going to be geared around that. If you're feeling not safe, and not rooted, not grounded, all of those things can come through your voice, which is not necessarily, again, your throat chakra. But so for me, it's very, very tricky, because when I first started learning about the chakras, that was the very first thing I said is I have a throat chakra problem, because I feel like I'm not heard, and but really that being not heard is not a throat chakra problem. That's a sacral chakra problem. So not being heard, not being good enough, not being wanted, that kind of stuff is sacral, not throat. The throat is more how we communicate it and being in a productive way. So, let me see. I just want to check my notes here. So we've got the Adam's apple. So I want to circle back around to the truth part. So speaking the truth. And again, that can be very complicated because your truth may not look like somebody else's truth. So that gets complicated. For example, I have a certain set of beliefs, and I don't expect everybody to necessarily agree with me on like 100% of what I think. I'm sure there's people out there that agree with some of it, but not all of it, and that's why I tell you guys, don't learn from just me. If you resonate with someone else, go learn from more than just one person, because I don't think anybody's gonna see things exactly the way I do all the time. And I think by learning from several people, you get different insights, and things may click different. And so again, pick 2 or 3 people that kind of resonate with you, and learn from them. When I first started learning, I was watching all kinds of different videos, and I would watch a video for like 5 minutes, and I'm like, I can't listen to this person talk. So they're just like, I'm like, no, I cannot learn from this person. But I got it down to a couple of people that I like to learn from, and took it from there. And now I've got even more people that I enjoy learning from. But if you listen to everything, you're going to go crazy. So pick a couple people that seem to be like-minded, similar-minded, and learn from them. But so your truth, where I was going with that is I have someone that sees things spiritually very, very differently than I do. So I try to not impose my beliefs onto her, and I try to listen to her feelings and her situations without and try to advise without trying to influence, because that's kind of not really what I think I'm here for. I'm not here to tell you what to believe. I'll tell you what I believe, and then if that resonates with you, that's great. If it doesn't, then that's okay too. But it gets very tricky on speaking because my truth is very different than her truth. And so finding the balance in all this communication can be really, really hard. Especially for me, I think one of the hardest things with our throat chakra is it is the way we communicate with others. Like if something's going on in my sacral chakra, nobody is really gonna probably know that, unless they're familiar with chakras and familiar with stuff like that. But when my throat chakra is just all over the place, people are like, what the hell just happened? Because it's the way we communicate, it's what's going on with all of our communication here. So it can, like I said, it's to me, it's one of the trickiest ones, and just happens to be that's the one I have to work with the most. So don't get caught up in, for your throat chakra, don't get caught up in the whole everybody has to believe what you believe or the debate of things, because I don't think that's what it is. You can say this is what I think and this is what I believe, and if you don't believe that, that's okay. You have the right to believe whatever you want to believe, and I have the right to believe whatever I want to believe, and I'm not going to impose my crap on you, so please don't impose your crap on me. Is kind of, I think, the nutshell of it. We can speak our truth, but we don't have to force it on anyone. And just the same that we wouldn't want anyone to force it on us. I don't, I don't just go around in my daily life saying, watch my videos, here's my card, buy a crystal, I think something's wrong with your chakra. Like, that's not my normal life. And if that's your normal life, again, I'm not judging, I'm not in any way, I'm just saying that's not how I do things. But have you ever been out and somebody approaches you and wants to, spread the word of God, or, I've had people reach out to me in all kinds of weird ways, and I don't know, maybe it's just me, but like I was in the grocery store one day, and the cash register lady is trying to get my contact information because she wants to talk to me about the word of God, and I was just like, no, thank you. Not for me. Thank you very much. But I didn't in turn, say like, well, I don't believe in that, and, this is what I believe, and I didn't get into a whole conversation or debate with her, because I didn't feel like I needed to. That's her beliefs. That's perfectly fine. She has the right to believe whatever she wants to believe, and so having my throat chakra didn't mean necessarily that I had to communicate anything more than that to her. I didn't, like I said, I didn't have to get into a debate. I didn't have to tell her I don't believe in any of that. I don't have to tell her what I do believe in. I didn't have to do any of that. I just could say no, thank you. And I felt that communication was clear, and it was honest, and it was for my higher good. And in a way, her higher good too, because I didn't, you know, I didn't insult her. I didn't call her names, which I wouldn't, but there's people that would. And I didn't go into anything else with her. I just, no, thank you, and moved on my way. So, an overactive throat chakra is weird. An overactive throat chakra are, I would think, maybe the people out there who are always trying to impose their truth upon you. I'm not sure, because again, your throat chakra your communication can go to so many other chakras that it's kind of hard to pinpoint for other people what is going on. But again, I don't think having an overactive throat chakra just means that you talk all the time and don't ever shut up. It could be, what is being communicated. And so an underactive throat chakra, again, it's not the quantity of the words, it's the quality of the words. So if you know somebody who is like always telling little white lies or big lies, I know people like that too, that just tell me like the most outrageous stories, and I'm like, there's no way that's true. But nothing that's coming out of their mouth is truthful. It's not for anybody's higher good. It's just, well, and I get like that sometimes. I have a tendency to be, to just talk off at the mouth sometimes, and not always be aware of what I'm saying. And so, I'm what I call a venter. When something happens to me, even small things, like I'm a customer service rep. I talk on the phone all day, and sometimes we get the weirdest, craziest people on the phone. We get mean people on the phone. We do get super nice people too, but and sometimes I get off the phone and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't think that person was ever gonna shut up. But then I'm done with it, So I'm a like I said, I'm a venter. I spewed it out, but then I just move on with my day, and I'm fine. I don't dwell on it. I don't rehash it. I don't, it doesn't keep continuing to come up for me. But I also have to remember the effects of what that is for the people around me, because that's all they hear from me a lot of times is, I'll get off the phone and I'll complain about the person. And then I sit there and I do my work. And then the phone rings and I get off the phone and I complain about that person. And then I sit there and do that work. And I'm like, that's the only real communication they're getting from me, is listening to me complain about the people on the phone. And I don't get off the phone generally with a nice person and be like, oh my God, that lady was so nice. So again, my coworkers tend to hear just the complaining part. But for me, it's a way of processing. I basically release it. I put it out there. But again, I have to remember how that affects other people. So even though it's venting for me and getting rid of it and letting it go, I have to be aware of how other people see that, because people just, people that sit beside me just see it like, that's all she does all day is sit there and complain about the people on the phone. And it's like, yeah, you're right. That's what you hear from me. So it's really tricky, but to me it's part of speaking it and releasing it and letting it go, and then I'm just fine to move on with my day. Like I don't know if you guys have probably ever done this or not, but when you get home from work and you just, my husband and I sometimes will sit here and we're just like, whoa, and then it's like 15 minutes of, well, about our day, and then we can sit down and have a nice dinner and, watch TV and talk, and our blue is all done. Like we got it out, it's gone, and now we can just sit and have a nice evening. And that's kind of how it is for me, and maybe that's not how it is for you, but I don't think by keeping everything bottled up is great either. Not communicating anything. It's just finding a way to do it um, that is going to be a little bit more productive for you. So again, for your highest good, but that it doesn't necessarily always affect other people. So, for me, sometimes I need to come home and say that, and do that with my husband, because I kind of spit everything out and he listens to me, and then he spits everything out and I listen to him, and then we're good. Where like my coworkers didn't necessarily sign up for that. They didn't sign up to listen to me venting and letting that go all day long. So, but again, that's part of me trying to work through exactly what your throat chakra is really all about. Because again, I personally think, I think out of all the chakras, your heart chakra is one of the most important. I think out of all of the chakras, the one that's the most complicated is the throat chakra. And that, like I said, that just happens to be the one that I really struggle with, because it's just so hard to pinpoint where everything comes from, because everything that comes out of here doesn't necessarily come from here. But you have to use this to balance it still. Um, so, because I think that person that's always lying and telling, tales and stuff, it's probably it's a different chakra that's related to, but they're using their throat chakra to communicate that, and so that's why it's kind of tricky. Because, like I said, that when I get angry and I start to run off at the mouth, that's really related to my sacral chakra of not feeling good enough. So I have to take that feeling of not feeling good enough, and when it surfaces and it comes up, or I have triggers, as we like to call them, I then have to take control of not only the anger that I'm feeling through my sacral chakra, but I have to take control of my throat chakra and take control of what is being spewed out of my mouth, because it's not always pleasant. So what happens then for me is I go back to that old way of, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. So when I get mad, I get angry, I just stop talking. I just will go to my desk and I will sit and I will not talk. If I'm home and I'm angry, I will not talk. I will clean. So if you come in and I'm frantically cleaning, it's probably just better if you leave. So again, I'm not taking control of that chakra and using it to my ability. I am not being able to take what I am feeling and processing and working with on my sacral chakra, and being able to communicate that in a truthful, wisdom, higher good sort of way. Just running off at the mouth is not doing anything any good besides pissing off the other person too. So now I'm pissed and they're pissed, and that didn't serve anybody's higher good. So yeah, I almost feel like I shouldn't even be teaching about throat chakra, because I haven't got it down. But I guess if I'm honest with you and tell you that, then, and tell you this is the wisdom I have, and again, that's my throat chakra. I'm trying to tell you the truth, as I know it. I'm trying to speak that wisdom that I do have, but I don't want to be misleading or misguiding. I don't want to tell you like, hey, I got this down and this is what you need to do, because I definitely do not have this one down, not even close. So again, let me just check my notes here. So now that I've gone on and on and on about that, so one of the things I wrote down is, how do you define your truth? So we kind of started to touch base on that, because your truth could be different than someone else's truth. And so again, I think you can speak your truth as long as you're doing it in a way that's for the highest good. Like I said, you don't need to go into debate mode or argue mode or insult mode or any of those non-productive things. So it kind of goes back, like, even to Facebook. This is kind of, again, a going sidebar here, side note. Facebook, we have a tendency to just type and type and type stuff on there. And, it's not a verbal communication. It's not being spoken, but it's still part of your throat chakra. And I see so many comments on Facebook that I think to myself, I'm like, I know that person. And I think if I was standing face to face with that person, that would not have been said. It's because Facebook is so easy to just type something and hit send. And if somebody comments back that we don't like them, we could just, block them or mute them or whatever. Where, like, if you're face to face with somebody, you don't really have that. So people tend to not say things. So Facebook is a good way to maybe start to speak some of your truths that you might not be comfortable speaking in an actual personal setting. But again, you've got to remember that it's got to come from a place of wisdom and for higher good. Excuse me. My teacher, Athena, said something one time. She's like, if it's not going to add anything productive to the conversation, just scroll by. And, that simple little thing she said really, really resonated with me. And so sometimes even I will be on Facebook and I'll be starting to type out something and I stop and I'm like, you know what, this isn't going to add anything productive to this conversation. And so I'm not talking about people's pictures of their kids and you say, oh, how cute, or congratulations, or, that kind of stuff. I'm talking about the posts that, are gonna be out there to cause some conflict usually. And so many times I want to just be like, what the hell are you thinking posting this? But again, that's not going to add anything productive to the conversation, and it's not going to change anything really for what that person, my little post on Facebook isn't going to change anything that person's going to think or say or whatever. So again, if it's not going to be productive, don't type it in there. Again, if it's not coming from a place of wisdom and for higher good, it may be your truth, but does it really need to be said? So you have to find that balance in there. And I do struggle with that. And like I said, there's a lot of times I'm typing something on Facebook and I stop and I delete it. And I'm like, nope, I shouldn't be putting this here. This isn't my place to put this here. I'm not here to change anybody. I'm not here to make anybody think what I think. And just because they have an opinion that I don't agree with, or, and it's usually not like, little things like my favorite ice cream is chocolate, your favorite ice cream is vanilla. That's not the topics I'm talking about. There's a lot of topics on Facebook right now about the Black Lives Matter and COVID, and I've seen so many people commenting and complaining both ways about having to wear masks, and and I have all my own feelings about all of those things, but I'm not going to go post them on Facebook. And sometimes I have to remember to stop and even though I want to comment on things, I have to not comment. But Facebook makes it a lot, I don't want to say a lot easier, because that's not really, um, I don't want to say cowardly either, because that's not really the exact word, but it's very shielding for us to be able to just put something out there and then like not have to worry about it, because if somebody comments back something that we don't like, we can just delete it or block it or mute it or whatever and go on with our lives. So just remember that what we write and what we type and all of those things are also with our throat chakra, the way we communicate things. So what we communicate a lot of times is related, I think, to other chakras. It's the how of it that is what we need to focus for our throat chakra. Because a lot of times I think the what of it is coming from somewhere else. If it's about love, that's one of the ones I like to use for an analogy is, a lot of times there's so much going on in our heart chakra that we just don't communicate to people, and I think that's very sad. I'm very thankful. I have a loving husband, and I don't have a lot of the different things that other people, finding a partner, um, you know, communicating with a partner and things like that, lost love, broken hearts, all that stuff. I'm not in a place where in my life where I'm dealing with that. I have been in a place where in my life where I have gone through that stuff, and it was a very big learning lesson for me. But again, I don't want to go too much back into the heart chakra, but there was so many things that I didn't say, because I didn't know how to communicate them in a way that I felt comfortable with. And part of that big thing is feeling rejected. And again, that goes back to my sacral chakra and not feeling good enough. So I hope this is kind of tying in and making sense for everybody. But I'm trying to maybe link them with some other chakras besides just the sacral. So hopefully that it makes some sense. But I have to kind of more speak on personal, what I really do know. So that's why I keep kind of going back to the sacral chakra. But a lot of people with heart chakra that are dealing with, not speaking up. It's one of the things I feel very strongly about, and I don't know why. I just do. But I have seen so many people who have had feelings for someone, and they never tell them. And whether that's again that feeling of rejection, which is what I experienced a lot when I was in my younger years, is I felt a lot of that I didn't want to tell this person because I might be rejected, and so I just didn't say anything. And it's like, well, what did that really get me? It didn't get me anything. So, I really feel like we need to use that throat chakra, and we need to speak these truths for ourselves. And, if you've got feelings for someone and you are not communicating that to the other person, you're really not being fair to yourself, but you're kind of not being fair to that other person either, is the way I look at it. You need to take care of yourself. If you're having these feelings, you should be telling this person. And yes, there is the fear of rejection, but I look at it now as if I had just told that person how I felt, they were either one going to tell me that they were feeling the same way, and it could have been, you know, super amazing. But also, if you did get rejected, you know, there would be some heartache there. There would be some things to deal with and stuff. But then you would be able to move on and find the person that you are meant to be with. So even though it may feel yucky and some rejection, um, do you really want to spend the next, like, you know, 5 years, whatever, feeling this way about a person that never knows and never reciprocates it to you? Or would you rather just know that this is not how this person feels, and now you can move on to maybe finding somebody that you know does feel the same way about you? So I know it's a little bit of heart chakra stuff there, but again, I really do think you know, the throat chakra of what we're communicating um, and how we're communicating is really, really important. And as you can tell just in this video, I'm having a hard time communicating what I really want to say. And that's my throat chakra. Your throat chakra is a good way to communicate who you are as well. Your throat chakra is all your stories and your history and all your experiences are going to all be expressed through that throat chakra. So, you know, that makes me think back to before written, where everything was storytelling, and how important that was for parents to tell children stories, for those children to tell their children stories, and before things were written down. So the throat chakra and the stories and the history and the experiences are all kept there, so that's very, very important. And again, I wrote the throat chakra is complicated. Yeah, it's very complicated, especially for me. And if you've got it down, hey, I'm kind of jealous, but good for you. Um, so kind of going back to like when we were children, or at least when I was a child, I remember oftentimes, and this is not a dig at my parents, because I think a lot of parents did it, but you know, we were told to only speak when we were spoken to. Some of us were told children were to be seen and not heard. You know, and the don't say anything unless you have something, you know, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. So a lot of those things were ingrained in us at a very, very young age, that, you know, they kind of unknowingly blocked our throat chakra on us from a very young age. You know, and I think that was, I don't see that so much in the newer generations, but I think my generation and a couple of generations back, it was very much a thing of, you know, children are only spoken to. You only speak when you're spoken to. When it came to like your parents or you know, adults. So we kind of were taught to not use that, to just shut it down and not communicate. And so some of us have a lot of reprogramming to do, more so than others. You know, now a lot of the generation, and I'm not going to get into generation things because there's like a million things you could get into with that and a million different opinions on that. But I do think that the newer generation is being brought up to, you know, some people say it's too touchy, too emotional, whatever, but and maybe that's true. I'm not debating that point, but they're being encouraged to express themselves is where I'm going. And they're being encouraged to talk about their feelings and things like that, which like when I was growing up and in high school and stuff, you didn't talk about your feelings, and it just wasn't ever done. Nobody talked about their feelings. Nobody knew what you were feeling. Nobody knew what you were going through. You know, it just didn't happen. And again, I'm not necessarily blaming any parents or anything like that. It was just the way things were back then. You know, maybe it is a parent's fault, but that's not for me here to say today. So, but yeah, I just, you know, I didn't talk about my feelings, and didn't talk about a lot of things. And even now as an adult, I still have a really hard time communicating my feelings in a good, productive way. So I'm working on it. I'm much better than I was 10 years ago. And I think even in the last year or two, I've gotten a lot better. But I still have a really long way to go on how that communication is coming out and being in a productive way. So one of the other things is feeling like not being heard. So I talked about that a little bit earlier, because that's one of the things that I deal with is I feel like I'm not being heard. If you ever have a conversation with me outside of the videos where we're actually having communication, and I'm aware of it, I know it's an issue for me and it's something that I'm working on. I have that feeling of I felt like I'm not being heard. So I will repeat myself, sometimes 3 times. I'll say the same thing in a very short time. And it's because I have that feeling like the person who I'm talking to is not really hearing me. They might be listening to me, but they're not really hearing me. And so I have this thing where I will repeat myself, and I'm like, well, you just sound like an idiot saying the same thing over and over again. But it's because of not feeling heard, which again, I associate that with my sacral chakra of not feeling good enough. But again, it goes back to the throat chakra, because I need to find a productive way to communicate things that are not being like, listen, shut up and listen to me. I'm telling you something and you're not listening to me. That's probably not the best way to handle it, but sometimes that's what I feel like. But again, I'll repeat myself over and over and over again in a conversation, and it's like, you just said that. But it's because I really feel like I'm not being heard. You can sometimes feel like your voice is not welcomed. I go through that a lot at work with my supervisor. I think she would rather I be seen and not heard. Our voice is not sought after. Our voice is not appreciated. And that's not the sound of our voice. You know, that's not what I mean by when I say voice. I'm sorry, I have a hair on me and it's really driving me nuts. So all of those things are part of our throat chakra. But again, you know, for me, my voice not being welcome, not being sought after, not being appreciated, for me just links right back to my sacral of not feeling good enough. So it gets complicated. You have to kind of figure out where things are going and what chakra they're related to, besides just your throat chakra. Let me see here, because I got to finish up here. So one of the last things, I wrote 2 things here that I want to just say real quick. So I wrote, if you felt free to express yourself without fear, what would you say? And so I don't expect that to be a quick answer. Something to think about, food for thought kind of thing. So what would you say? If you could say anything you wanted to say to anybody you wanted to say it to, what would it be? And maybe that's a good journal prompt if you're somebody who likes to journal and write things down. So process through that, and then after you've processed through that, what you would say and who you would say it to and all that, go back then, and so maybe that's a good reason to write it, is so that you can go back after and actually visually look at it. Now go back in and try to say exactly that same thing without in any way being offensive or in any way being demeaning. Is it productive? So try to figure out how you can say exactly what it is you want to say in a way that's going to be truthful and wisdom and of higher good. And so that's the test that I kind of have to run through on a daily basis. Like everything that comes out of my mouth, I kind of have to stop and think real quick. I'm like, okay, is this going to be productive? Is this going to be good? Is this going to be helpful? Or do I just need to not be saying anything? So sometimes having a balanced and open throat chakra might mean you just don't say anything. So, and then the very last thing that I wrote that I just really do want to say is your throat chakra is your truth. Not necessarily the truth, but your truth. It's your story. It's who you are. It's how we communicate with each other. And so it is, I really do think it's a very, very important chakra. And if we could all communicate better, right now our and I don't want to go into this too much, but right now our country is very, very divided in so many things. And if we could just learn to speak our truth in a productive and helpful way for the higher good, I think it would change a lot. Besides all this just bickering and name calling and insulting and we don't have to agree on everything, but if we could just learn to communicate with each other in a productive way for the higher good, I think we would see a lot of things changing. And I got a whole theory about what's going on right now and why it's happening and all of that, but I won't go too much into that. I won't go into that at all right now, actually, because I don't have time. But your throat chakra is your truth and your voice, and you have the choice of what you're going to do with it. It's a very powerful chakra. Your voice can be so changing for people. You could say mean, hateful, horrible things to people, or you can use that voice to uplift and help. And if you guys look at my page, it's it's on my business cards too. It's educate, enlighten, and encourage is what I'm trying to use my throat chakra for. And I always tell you guys, and I will end the same way I always end, is be kind. And that's going to, again, come from that throat chakra, your kindness. I mean, it's coming from your heart chakra as well. To be kind and loving and empathetic and compassionate is all the heart chakra, but it's going to come through your throat chakra. And a little word of encouragement could really make a big difference. I always go back to the little old lady at the cash register who's paying I'm on my lunch break and I've only got so much time that I have to get my lunch and get back to work, and I'm in a rush and I'm in a hurry, and there's the little old lady in front of me who's paying for her grocery bill out of her little coin purse, and she's having a hard time, and that's, for me, I could be like, listen, lady, I gotta go. Can you friggin' speed it up here a little bit? Which, is really not going to be helpful at all. Or I could just tell her, it's okay, it's fine, ma'am. I'm all right. Don't rush. Take your time. And make her feel okay. And again, I have to go because I'm going to be late for work. But we don't know what she's going through. We don't know if she had to scrimp and scrape all those coins to even get her food to begin with. She may be very embarrassed that she has to pay with change. We don't know what's going on with her story and stuff. But by making a simple, like, I could say, could you hurry it up? I have to get back to work, and make her feel worse. Or, I could just be like, it's fine, ma'am. Don't worry. It's all good. I'm fine. Because really, if I'm 5 minutes late getting back to lunch, it's not the end of the world. My boss probably won't be too happy with me, but it's really not the end of the world. So again, be kind. Your kindness is not only going to improve your day and change your day, it's going to change the day of somebody else, and it could potentially change the life of somebody else. And that's pretty powerful, and that comes from your heart chakra, but it comes through your throat chakra as well. So if you have any questions, any comments, please put them in the comments below, or you can private message me. A lot of you do that. You private message me with questions. That's perfectly fine. I don't have any problem with that. Just the only thing is if you've got the question, probably somebody else has got the question, and they might not, want to ask it. So putting them in the comments gives other people a chance to kind of read them. But I know some of them are personal, and you guys don't want everything out in public, so that's fine. Whatever way works best for you is okay with me. Please like and please share. If this video can help one person, I feel like it was worth making. A friend of mine shared a video the other day and put a little comment on there about how my video helped her, and that just meant the whole world to me, that I helped her. And you could be like, well, it was one person, but to me, it's so worth it. If I help one person, what I do is worth it. So again, comment, like, share, invite friends that you think might be interested in what we talk about. So again, I'm still ranting here, and I'm going to be late. So I love you guys. Thank you for watching. And again, just remember, be kind. So love you. Bye.